Last year, Warcraft executive producer Holly Longdale openly stated that a new movie based on the franchise is definitely possible. Even though the first part didn't live up to the studio's expectations, the recent success of projects like Fallout has pushed Microsoft to seriously consider launching new cinematic universes based on games. In that context, talks about bringing Warcraft back have become relevant again. Duncan Jones's 2016 film made close to $500 million at the global box office, but that still wasn't the kind of massive profit Universal and Legendary had hoped for. With a budget of around $160 million, the movie technically made a profit, but not enough for the studios to greenlight a sequel without hesitation. Originally, the project was pitched as the start of a full trilogy. Actors were signed for multiple movies, and there were rumors that Warcraft's story would unfold on the big screen over many years. Still, calling the first part a total flop would be unfair. At the time, it was one of the top-performing video game adaptations ever made. It's only now, with the industry evolving and projects like the Super Mario Bros., the Sonic trilogy, and even the recent Minecraft becoming massive hits, that Hollywood has started to take game adaptations much more seriously. Back then, they were seen as risky investments and fell far behind comic book movies in both quality and popularity. For a long time, producers clearly didn't view video game movies as equal players in the blockbuster arena. Budgets were limited, expectations were low, and projects often felt like afterthoughts. But in recent years, everything has changed. The industry has learned how to properly adapt gaming worlds for the big screen. And when it comes to franchises that are basically made for a cinematic universe, Warcraft is an obvious choice. Even their cinematics are on another level. People who have never played a single game still recognize the insane quality of those trailers and cutscenes. They look and feel like big-budget movies on their own and leave you wanting to see more, whether it's a fully animated feature or a live action. Despite all the challenges, Duncan Jones's movie did capture the atmosphere of Azeroth. It was based on 1994's Orcs and Humans, covering the first Orc invasion and the beginnings of the Great War that would lead to the formation of the Alliance. The movie ended with a pretty clear setup for a sequel, but reality had other plans. Almost a decade has passed since the movie's release, and the industry has changed dramatically since then. At this point, the chances of seeing a direct sequel are extremely low. If a new movie happens, it will almost certainly be a full reboot. We're likely looking at a brand new story, a brand new cast, and maybe even a completely different visual style. Most likely, the rights will be handed over to a team more focused in filmmaking. One of the biggest problems with the first movie was the total lack of coordination between the studios. There were tons of rumors about creative clashes between Blizzard and Legendary. They just couldn't agree on what the movie should be. Should it be more gamer-focused, or should it try to appeal to a wider mainstream audience? In the end, it got stuck somewhere in the middle and didn't fully satisfy either side. Not the fans, and not the average viewers. But honestly, when you're dealing with a universe this massive, one cautious first try isn't enough to judge the whole thing. Even Nolan's first Batman Begins wasn't a big hit right away, but Warner's believed in it, doubled down, and ended up giving us one of the greatest trilogies of all time. Why Universal and Legendary didn't show the same patience with Warcraft is still a mystery. Behind the scenes, Blizzard was reportedly pushing hard to keep the movie super close to the original. They even pulled in some of their own game writers to make sure the original spirit stayed intact. But as it turned out, that strategy just didn't work. Movie ended up feeling all over the place. It tried to be an epic fantasy while also sticking religiously to the lore, and it couldn't really strike the right balance. So I completely agree with Holly Longdale here. Blizzard should stay focused on making games and leave the adaptations to teams that actually understand how to make movies and shows. Look at Arcane or Fallout. Microsoft will probably go the same route and partner up with a big platform. Amazon seems like the most obvious pick. They desperately need strong franchises right now if they want to keep up with Netflix, who's been gobbling up everything from anime to old brands. Amazon clearly understands how important video game IPs are becoming. You can see it in the way they're building their content strategy. Warcraft would be a perfect play for them. It's one of those franchises that could easily launch an entire universe with spin-offs, prequels, and full-length trilogies. If handled right, Warcraft could absolutely stand alongside Dune or Star Wars. It's rare to find another series with such a deep lore, a massive global fan base, and endless room for epic stories. And with the right creative team behind it, they could easily keep building out the Warcraft universe all the way into 2040 and beyond. The recent success of video game adaptations is definitely pushing Blizzard and Microsoft to start making new plans. They know they're sitting on a goldmine. If they play their cards right, Warcraft could become a multi-billion-dollar franchise on the same level as some of the biggest cinematic universes out there. And it's kind of funny, Duncan Jones still dreams of making a direct sequel. He's even shared a few ideas about what the story would have been, but honestly, the chances of that happening are close to zero now. Back then, Warcraft was always meant to be a trilogy, with Thrall set to become the main character. We got a tiny glimpse of him as a baby in the first part. Just like in the original games, Thrall was supposed to grow up, go from being a gladiator to becoming the great leader of the Horde, freeing his people from corruption. The tricky part is, most of his origins actually happen off-screen in the main games. We don't see him properly until Warcraft 3. His early life is mostly covered in the novels based on the games. That's the material Jones was planning to adapt for the sequels. Plus, there were rumors that Legendary wanted to bring in elements from the cancelled Lord of the Clans game, which told the story of young Thrall. But as we know, things didn't turn out that way. So now, Microsoft needs to find a team that truly gets how to handle a world as rich as Warcraft. They need a director who respects the original lore but isn't afraid to rethink it for a new audience. And honestly, I do feel a little bad for Duncan Jones. He came into the first movie with a ton of love for the source material, and he tried really hard to capture the spirit of the games, but he didn't have the experience to properly adapt something this massive. The next project needs to avoid all those old mistakes. The right writer who really feels the universe, and the right director who can breathe fresh life into it. And above everything else, it needs a great story. Continuing the first movie just doesn't make sense anymore. Too much time has passed. I mean, maybe they could pull off a huge 15-year time jump and show events as if they're happening long after. But that seems pretty unlikely. Either way, there's no shortage of ideas and materials for a reboot. They could dive into the rise of the Burning Legion and the first demon invasions of Azeroth. That would be an awesome way to deliver massive, visually stunning battles and really explore the magical side of Warcraft. Another killer storyline would be Arthas's fall from Noble Prince to the Lich King, though honestly, that deserves its own big event or even an entire season down the line. There's just so much to work with, from the formation of the Orcish clans to the ancient wars between the Night Elves and demons during the War of the Ancients. The possibilities are endless.